I cannot control myself. Hey, it's free. I'm a little bit nervous. This is not the book I thought it was. I want to join the bandwagon. I don't physically read books. What are you talking about? Hi everyone, my name's Ebony. Welcome back to another video. So today I am doing a book haul because, as you may know, I have a job at a bookstore and I cannot control myself when it comes to seeing books at the bookstore, especially when they're ARCs or damaged copies, because I can get those for free as an employee, and it's really hard to hold myself back when I can get free books. So I have quite a stack here to talk about with you guys. Majority of them did come from the bookstore. I'm just gonna hop on into it. As you can see, the shelf behind me is very empty because all the books I got, most of them were on that shelf. So first, technically, I have gotten another copy of Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is a technicality because I do already have this book. It's right here on my shelf. I have it in hardback. But I bought a second copy because I am annotating it for my friend Lexi. I talk about this a lot. Every year for our birthdays, we annotate a copy of our favorite books and then give them to each other so we can read each other's annotations. So I did buy this book, so technically I'm like hauling it, but I am going to give it to Lexi as soon as I'm done reading it. But I haven't made much progress lately at all. It's slow going, but that's okay. Lexi is also having a slow time with her book, so it's okay. And so for now, I technically own this book, even though I will be getting rid of it, unhauling it when I give it to Lexi whenever I finish it. If you don't know, Ninth House is about a character named Alex who has a very sketchy past, but she's able to see ghosts. And so Yale, the school, they have all these secret societies. They deal with necromancy and magic, and there is a murder mystery going on. They get Alex to come study at Yale because she can see ghosts, and she's going to be one of the secret society's new Dante. There's a lot in this book. There's a lot of mystery, a lot of questions, a lot of dark, fun things. I love an atmospheric book. I love dark academia, so I love this book. It's just, this is one of those books that takes me so long to read because it's so dark and there's so much happening that you can't just read it all in one sitting, or at least I can't. The first time I read this book, I think it took me 5 months. So it's no surprise that it's taking me quite a long time to read this the second time, although I do love it. Don't let the fact that I'm taking so long reading this book make you think that I don't like it, because I do. I absolutely love this book, and I'm really, really excited for a sequel whenever that happens. So yeah, I do have another copy of this book, but eventually I will be giving it to Lexi. Okay, the rest of these books are books that are just for me. So first I have a copy of The Mark of Athena by Rick Riordan. This is a damaged copy that I noticed at the store, and I don't have any of the Heroes of Olympus books. I have all of the Percy Jackson series, but none of the Heroes of Olympus. So I grabbed it because, hey, it's free, and I have already read this, so it's not like it's another book waiting for me to read it. It is a damaged copy, and it is this fancy new paperback cover, so now I'm well, now I'm gonna have to get all of the books in this fancy paperback cover. Because I was always buying the Percy Jackson books at secondhand stores because they're so easy to find. We'll see if I ever come across other books in the series. It's not a huge deal even if I don't get all the books in the series for years to come. It's just one of those staple book series that I would like to have, but it's not the end of the world because I have already read them. But I saw a copy and I couldn't restrain myself from grabbing it. Next I have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have also read this book. This is Taylor Jenkins Reid's newest book, and it follows the 4 children of a famous singer from the 60s named Mick Riva, and all of the children are also sort of famous in their own right. And it's told in dual timeline, one on the day of the famous Riva party that is the place to be in Malibu, and it's always the best time. And then there's lots of like flashbacks of how the Riva children grew up, how their parents met, all the hardships that they've been through throughout their life. And it is very, very good. I just talked about this in my recent June wrap-up, so you can check that out if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts of how I felt about the book as a whole. But it was very good. Taylor Jenkins Reid is an amazing author. Highly recommend. And this is also a signed copy, so we'll take a peek at the signature here. Boom, there it is. As soon as we got it in the bookstore, I immediately bought it. Like, I actually paid for this one. This wasn't like a damaged copy that I got for free. So yeah, I love it. I'm so happy I have this book. Next is The Light Through the Leaves by Glendy Vanderrood. This is the author of Where the Forest Meets the Stars, which I've talked about a lot this year. I read it in January and I absolutely loved it. And so this is this author's newest book, and we didn't actually carry this at the store, so I actually special ordered it from our warehouse. Now we do carry a copy, I think because me and a couple of other people have placed orders, so they were like, we'll carry a copy of it. However, I haven't read this book yet, and I really need to. I'm super excited for it, so I don't know what's holding me back, but I think I'm a little bit nervous that I'm not gonna love it as much as I loved Where the Forest Meets the Stars. But either way, I don't really know what this is about because I don't really like knowing synopses beforehand, but like, look at how pretty the cover is. I love the color palette on this book. And then I have When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLain. This is another damaged copy I got from the store, and I actually grabbed this book thinking it was the first day of spring. Because one of my coworkers was reading this book and they said that they really liked it, and I thought that the premise sounded right up my alley. So I kind of got the two books mixed up because I think they have similar covers. So when I saw this, I thought it was that book, and then I grabbed it and then I realized, oh wait, this is not the book I thought it was. Either way, it is a fairly popular book at the bookstore, so I mean, I'm gonna read it. I think I have the audiobook on hold right now. Unfortunately, this isn't the book I thought it was, so I do not know the synopsis of this book. And then I also have a damaged copy of No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. This is another book I've seen at the bookstore very often, and I actually grabbed this one because I shelved a copy of this, and I actually read the synopsis because, I don't know, the cover just looks really interesting to me. It almost looks like, I don't know, alien-esque. I don't know what it is. But from what I remember from the synopsis, the main character is like a social media person, and there's this thing called the portal, which is like the world and the language of social media, and there's like some climate change and loneliness and impending doom, I think. I'm not sure. To me it sounds like aliens. I don't think it actually is, but I would be really excited if it was aliens. But yeah, so like the day that I shelved a copy of this, I actually saw a copy of it in the back because it's a damaged copy. And so I was like, I'm gonna grab it. It's fairly short, so I don't think it would take me too long to get through. And there's lots of page breaks on the pages. So yeah, I am excited for this, but I have a feeling it's not gonna be what I think it is. But either way, I will give it a read. And next I have Good Morning, Good Night by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Johnny Sun. This is a book of little pep talks that Lin-Manuel Miranda has written. I believe they started out as tweets and then they put it into a book, and the illustrations are done by Johnny Sun, who's the author of one of my favorite graphic novels. So that's the reason I grabbed this book when I saw we had a damaged copy, is because I love Johnny Sun's graphic novels. And so this is a very short one. There's lots of cute little illustrations, and I have read it, as you can see by all the tabs. I talked about this one as well in my June wrap-up, so go check out that video if you want to hear more thoughts on this. And then I have The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. This is another damaged copy, and I grabbed this one because I've heard so many people talking about this. Most notably, my friend Stephanie from Stephanie Bookish has talked about it and how much she loves it. And it is also a very popular book, was on the bestsellers for a long time. And so this is another one of those books where I was like, this is probably like a staple book I should read because so many people enjoy it and I want to be in on the hype. I want to join the bandwagon. I don't know much about it. I think it's like a family sort of story where it's like a generational kind of thing. I'm not 100% sure, and I don't really want to know. I don't want to have any preconceived notions before I go into it. I don't like knowing synopses beforehand because sometimes they let you down. And the last book I got from the bookstore is Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. So I've actually started this book. I started the audiobook, but unfortunately I ran out of time on my audiobook from Libby, but I have it on hold right now and it should get to me fairly soon, so I will be able to finish it. This is actually an ARC from the bookstore, and I grabbed this ARC because this was one of the books I talked about in my most anticipated releases video back in the beginning of the year. And so I saw an ARC and I'm like, hey, that's one of my most anticipated releases. I will grab it. As what I've read so far, I really enjoy. The plot follows the main character who works at an independent bookstore, then a chain bookstore like Barnes & Noble. It's not Barnes & Noble, but like Barnes & Noble opens right across the street, and like they lose some of their business. And so you have this like enemies to lovers rival between the main character and one of the workers at the other bookstore, and it's honestly really funny. They like pull pranks on each other, and I was having a good time reading this, so I'm kind of bummed that I haven't finished it yet because I didn't get my audiobook back. I could just like physically read it because I have it, but who are we kidding? I don't physically read books. What are you talking about? So I'm really excited to finish this book, and I'm really happy that I have an ARC of it because I am really enjoying it, so it'll be a nice little staple to my bookshelf. And the last two books I have did not come from the bookstore. A friend of mine on Twitter was posted some books that they were getting rid of. They were like, message me if you were interested in any of these, and I was like, oh, I'd like that one and that one. And so I Venmo'd them and they sent them to me. So these are the two books that I got. So I got Alex Approximately by Jenn Bennett. This was on my 21 books to read in 2021 list that I have not made much progress on because when I compiled that list I didn't have my job at the bookstore, so there's no adult books on there. So now I'm trying to prioritize adult books, but those aren't on that list, so it's like, it's a whole mess. I don't know if I'll actually read all of the books I made on that list, but this is one of them, so I thought that maybe if I had it I would feel more inclined to pick it up. I still plan on reading this on audiobook, but like, when I have a book sitting on my bookshelf that I haven't read, it gives me anxiety and makes me want to read it more so I can make sure that I have read all the books on my bookshelf, basically. And so that's my thought process behind this, is like, if it's on my shelf, I will prioritize it. Even if I am listening to the audiobook, I will still listen to it sooner than if I didn't have it on my shelf. It makes sense in my head. Jenn Bennett is a very popular contemporary author. I've never read a Jenn Bennett book, but I'm very excited to read one. So I think the synopsis of this is the main character has an online friend, and then they end up moving to where that friend lives, but they don't tell that friend that they moved there because maybe that person is a stalker, you don't know. And then I think she also meets someone at a museum, and it might be the same person. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's something like the synopsis. And the last book I have is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. As you may know, I love V.E. Schwab. Vicious is one of my favorite books I've read this year. I also love the Cassidy Blake series. I've read the Monsters of Verity duology, and I've read Addie LaRue. All good books. But I have not read A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and my friend on Twitter was getting rid of a copy, and I was like, I will take that one, please, because like I said, I love Victoria Schwab and I want to read all of her books eventually. So this is a good way in getting me to read this trilogy, is by having the books. I'm very excited to read this. I'm not 100% sure the synopsis on this either. I've definitely heard the synopsis before. I think it might be something to do with like alternate universes. Maybe I'm completely wrong, I'm not sure. But I'm very excited to read it as well. I love Victoria Schwab. So I believe that is all the new books that I have gotten recently. If you've read any of these and if you liked them, let me know which ones I should prioritize. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you're subscribed down below so you don't miss any future videos. And if you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description box down below. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in my next video soon. Bye!
Just